going on, everybody? And welcome back to the A Show with the Kings Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am Justin, here with Meelz.
$2.99.
Nice. Almost 300 weeks.
You almost what?
Almost 300 weeks.
Almost 300 weeks. Listen, 300 weeks at number one, by the way. Number one, the real number one wrestling podcast. Forget what the numbers actually say. You know what I'm saying?
Been there. Been there before.
Yeah. Forget what the numbers actually say. Forget what washed up wrestler just came out with a podcast 2 weeks ago. Like, we're the number ones. We've been doing this more consistently. We're better than everybody else.
Damn.
Like,
Is that how you starting the show?
I mean, 299 weeks kind of speaks for it. What am I supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? How many others have done the same thing? How many others have gone through 299 weeks? I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too much clips of Making the Band 2 on TikTok.
Definitely have sent me your fair share of Making the Band clips in the past week, for sure.
That show... Listen, we're all definitely clamoring for it to come on streaming, but I feel like that show is properly going to expose how like it doesn't age well in 2023 of like, first of all, nigga-tainment, and then also just also how the music industry was like the like you said. I mean, we share it, the 3 points thing. They're sitting down with their lawyer, who, by the way, is the executive producer of the show and also represents Diddy. And he was like, all right, you guys, here's the share of what you guys profits will receive on this album. There are 100 points for each album. You guys, all 6 of you, will collectively get 3.
I think even crazier than that is how chaotic the editing was in that show. Like, they would be here, there, everywhere. Like, that's really not how things work in real life.
No. They spilled a drink on Sarah, and like no one came to her aid, and like she again fights with Choppa, and it's a whole thing. Like, definitely, it's invaded my TikTok algorithm. I'm not mad at it. I like seeing it in short doses rather than seeing the whole thing. With that said, we should probably introduce our guest because we're not alone on this episode. No. He may be coming in via car with the way they honking outside. We have a guest this episode. He is the 2023 Royal Rumble pool, one of the Royal Rumble pool winners. Man, he is. Are you? Can I bet on you on FanDuel yet? Oh, am I even supposed to say that? Never mind. Never mind. We have Cash Out Sid Jones here. What's up, Sid?
What's going on, guys? No, you cannot bet on me, but we're just gonna act like that didn't happen. After what's been going on in the big league of just all these, I just don't get how like you want to bet on yourself when you know in your contract most likely you get a winning purse like for just winning. So it's like, why even bet on yourself for more money? That's greedy.
It's greedy. It's filthy. It's nasty. Leave it up to the degenerates like me and the rest of us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But with that said, welcome to the show, man. Which Royal Rumble winner got you here? First of all, I forget every time.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Wow.
It was funny too, because when it happened, I literally knew I was winning. When he came out at 30, I said yes. Because last year I got screwed with Bianca, and Ronda came out. So this year I was like, it's only right.
Should we have reneged it if they did not win at WrestleMania?
had a Cody clause.
Wow.
We gotta do I feel like in the pool we gotta do like we should call it the Cody clause. It's like when it is a character that is coming out that you know is going to win, we're gonna give runner up. Like it's gotta be right. Like, come on. Like when Cody came on at 30, it was like, oh yeah, yep. And it was just Gunther left. I was like, yep.
Mm-hmm. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? Shout out to you. You outlasted all the other folks. You won. Who was number 30 in the women's one?
Let me check.
Could you have won that as well? I mean, it's a very
Nia
real
Jax,
chance.
I wasn't winning. It was Nia Jax. I wasn't winning.
Oh, right.
I wasn't winning.
Remember we were mad for all those like 8 minutes of like, damn, she's actually back. Like shit.
She botched they botched her coming out. Like the clock didn't even end, and she came out.
They was like, get her out of there. Come on, let's figure this out. Let's get her out of here. With that said, it's great to have you here, Sid. Not your first time, but not your last time either. Maybe if you play your cards right. But
long
what's been going?
long supporter of the show, also.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, I was an undergrad. I've gotten through undergrad and grad school. Okay,
What's the last year of your life been like? If you had to say, like, yeah, well, how would you describe the last year?
crazy. Just grad school. Now it's like as I'm looking at jobs in my field of just undergrad and grad school stuff, it's like I might have to leave my state. So it's also that the football thing keeps going. I just just trying to elevate that as well. And then I ended up in a relationship, so now it's like, wow, my life is really somewhat getting together. It's pretty cool, but
It ain't your life ain't together, but you.
it's not. But it's I'm trying to piece it as much as possible.
Yes.
WWE hasn't approached you yet with the NIL shit yet. They
Nah,
haven't.
I'm out of that. I'm not in college no more, so I gotta
Oh,
get it. I gotta get out the mud if I want to.
nah,
I,
nah.
I was so it would have been so easy when I was in college. I would have applied and was like, just hope for the best. But now it's like I really got to go through everything if I wanted to do it.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Oh, what's been going on? What's been going on with everything? I felt like I had a question that I wanted to ask at the beginning of this and completely forgot. But I'm trying to figure out what's been going on in the world. What can we talk about? That's like,
I mean, Threads. Threads
oh
was
yeah,
literally just popping off or it launched after we recorded last week, and we had talked a little bit about
because we talked about Spill.
talked about
I've,
Spill last
I've
week,
not logged in since.
and it's been 7 days later, and listen. The social media landscape has like changed within days, like literally within days. Where we have two apps now, or now we have completely replaced one. I feel like certain people who like was still using like Bebo and Black Planet, they're still on Spill, but everybody else moved to Threads.
People who are stubborn are still using Spill. People who like they're the same people who like they're like we're using Tidal to support black business. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the kind of people who are using Spill still. Um, Mind you, I don't even think Jay-Z owns fucking Tidal anymore. But yeah, nah. I mean, it's definitely changed. Threads is a. I don't know if it's going to be something that I need, but it's not bad the way it's kind of like set up.
It needs to be different. I think it needs to be very, very different from what Twitter is, and I think that there's a confusion of like people don't know that they're on Instagram yet, or Instagram still rather, right? And I think that you have to really be dialed in because like people are forgetting that their family members follow them on this app. You know what I mean? They're just saying whatever the fuck they want to do on here, not remembering that it's still Instagram. It's just literally your Instagram account, unless you started it from scratch, right? So, I think that the main thing that we have to remember is that like it's not going to replace Twitter because that's where all the memories are, right? It's going to live next to Twitter, but I don't think it can overtake or replace Twitter.
Sid, have you used it yet?
I have not even touched Threads. Like, I just find it kind of like it's another Twitter. There's nothing that really seems like it's gonna do anything to really sway me, unless I use it as a business opportunity for something. But at the moment, I just don't see myself using it for right now.
I feel like it's less chaotic than Twitter if you needed that in your life. Like it legitimately like in terms of like look and feel, it runs smoother than Twitter. There's less kind of like a bunch of things attacking you all at once, like lists and stories and communities and spaces and all these other things that are now happen because Twitter is this platform that's existed for like 15 years. So it's a lot less like chaotic, a lot less stressful, but also, yeah, I refresh it and I'm like, I don't know if I need to be interacting on this every day at this point. um Looks good, but yeah, I don't really know if I need it anymore. But the landscape has changed, it's shifted. There's about a they said like 150 million people went to threads, which is already like almost a third, a little bit over a third of Twitter's actual user base. So we'll see how this thing
And it's
They
easy to
said it was like the fastest app to get to like a million, wasn't it, or something
yeah.
like
100
that?
million.
Yeah, it was the fastest app, and again, it's because you have that built-in install base. You have that built-in user base where all you had to do was literally just grab the other app. Like, I think that they did a really great job of the actual literacy behind it, where it's like people were confused how to get the app. You could pre-order the app. They were sending you notifications about that the app was available. People got a lot of things dropped into their ads, like on when they scroll through Instagram. Like, it was just so much easier to actually find the app than any other app that I've ever seen in my life. And you already have people that use Instagram, so I foresee it reaching. Honestly, foresee it reaching Twitter levels in like 9 months. I could see that happening. I think by that time they'll have kind of worked out what they want to do with it, and I think really Threads should be a creator based platform. It should really just be that.
Yeah, I think it should be. I mean, I don't know. I guess yeah, it should be. It should be. If that can be where it kind of like lies, I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, as of right now, I'm like, okay, I just check it from now and then. But once you refresh it, um all the pages from all the actual like companies and stuff shows up, which makes it a little less nice. Um
Well, that's never going to go away. So
Yeah, nah, it's never not gonna go away. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't want to engage too much. Let's see what else has happened out here in this world. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to kind of like talk about things that are happening in the wrestling world?
yeah, because you got to talk about your MSG experience and all of that.
Ooh, that's right. Yeah, nah, for sure. Shout out to
Uh,
WWE.
yeah, I mean, I could do it on this damn wrestling. Somebody said, "Fuck no."
We're literally like off the cuff for 299. Listen, 300. It's gonna be beautiful, but 299. I
You know what?
mean,
It's the 10-year anniversary of the Performance Center. I did see that this morning. It is the
ooh,
10-year anniversary of the Performance Center.
that
Okay,
is the thing. Look at
I have
that.
I have been to the Performance Center.
That was
Uh,
my lasting memory of how many times I haven't been, but how many times you have gone.
I've been like 3 times. Uh, Amazing place to go to. But I want to really ask you guys like about the legacy or talk about the legacy rather of the Performance Center. 10 years ago it was something that was kind of unheard of and unfathomable at the time. People looked at it like, oh, this is a new OVW. Oh, they're gonna be, teaching people WWE style. What is this shit gonna be? And you just saw the personnel behind it, that being Triple H and Regal and Tensai and all those other people that were behind it. And I mean, what could you say about the legacy of the Performance Center now that it is opening its doors to not only prospective wrestlers from the indie scene, but also athletes in the NIL program?
Yeah, talk about it, Sid. What's the benefit of having an amazing performance center to prepare in?
Oh, well, in terms of, football, from my side, it's like a performance center where you can have, everything and anything it basically becomes almost like your home. So, when you have a top of the line weight room, facilities, nutrition, physical therapy, all that stuff is going to make you want to be in there longer than, you expect to. When I was in college, it was just like, I'm going to a weight room, but I'll just go in here and talk to a trainer for no reason. Like, I don't even really got anything wrong with me. I'm just going to go in here and talk and ask questions and things of that matter. So stuff like that is really helpful. And you could look from 10 years ago to now for WWE. It's like, we don't we probably don't get this what we're seeing now without that PC. Um no more, it wasn't no OVWs, no more of that. It's just like we're gonna take you here and not even teach you the WWE way, just get you trained to, understand what we're doing. Like it's a show, it's an art form basically. So we have all these people here, all these rings, weight room, all these different facilities to help you get better. You know, they've come out with NXT and just things like that. And then we even got specials from it. I really want them to bring back the PC Combine that they did a couple years ago when like Bianca and Raquel and all of them were down there. I think that would be a great, especially with all these now. You know, you got Braun Breaker and Carmelo and things like that, and all these different athletes now, where it's not just indie stars doing it. You got these NIL athletes and everybody just coming in and doing it. So I think that would just be dope. But the PC has definitely helped the brand of WWE become better as a product, and I think we're they're kind of this is like a start. I feel like in the next 15 years or so, there will be more PCs, across the United States, probably across the world. I know that there was one in UK. So I think outside of Florida, you might get one in like New York or like LA or so, or like Texas. And so things of that matter, just, to make it easier for these people and, and just grow. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think when you look at something like the PC and the legacy of it, it not only cultivated new talent and taught them how to work, like Sid said, but it also gave them a base where they could start building their own shows at home. I mean, obviously, people, the PC was immeasurable and how useful it was during the COVID era. And I think that we would not have wrestling on TV. Let's just be clear, without the PC being there, without that access to what they had and the facilities that they had. I've been in there. That big ass room could fit like 10 rings, like literal 10 WWE rings could fit in that fucking big ass room. And they managed to make it look like it was a TV studio. And I think that how mutable it is and kind of like flexible it is to kind of create whatever you want in that space was awesome. Like when I went there for the 2K thing a couple years ago, they had the Street Profits versus some jobbers, and they came out with the same entrance, and they had like
They probably are like actual people now, and you just don't remember them.
I don't think they are. No, dead ass. I don't think they are. They were trainees. They
Oh,
didn't
okay.
they didn't have an entrance, but the Street Profits did. So like they came
Wasn't
out.
like LA Knight or some shit like that. No.
Nah, he
Old
wasn't
Timers
there.
Imperium.
The thing about LA Knight is that nigga is he was there during the King assassination, nigga. Like he's been everywhere. That nigga's been everywhere, yo. Like who would have thought he was on a Triple H workout DVD? Nigga? They never hired him. Like what?
I just the opportunity just to be close to him, pick his brain. I'm like, nigga, you doing sit-ups like everybody else.
But I mean, in terms of just what they've given the talent and how immeasurable that was for WWE's production has been amazing. And I talked about this earlier in our chat. We were talking about ratings, and we're talking about just the cost of shows. NXT is probably relatively a cheap ask for NBC Universal because of the PC, because of where they shoot out of every single week, because it's literally you just have to set it up and set it and forget it. You know what I mean? Like they have that there on call at all times, and it's been it was probably a huge loss leader for WWE for a while, probably still is in some ways, but I think in terms of how they structure their TV deals, it is a gainer, it's an earner because it allows them to get more money for things. So like again, that one little warehouse that could has created so many opportunities.
Yeah, and I also think, it's the investment in themselves, right? Like ultimately as much as it costs, which it costs a lot. I remember when it first opened and they had all those articles and they brought all those reporters and journalists and stuff to like cover it. And they're like ultimately what Triple H said back in the day when he had that weird haircut. He was like, this is an investment in our future at the end of the day. The state of the art facility is investment that we create these stars. We can create them from scratch. We can train them for the WWE way. Like previously, they had essentially used Florida Championship Wrestling. They'd use OVW and Deep South Wrestling, and they didn't really want to go through that anymore. It was WWE essentially saying, like, we're going to handle this in-house. We're not going to lease out, like, have to deal with pretty much how it used to be anymore, and kind of like with these sweaty dirty warehouses that use, and we're gonna actually treat these stars like they're actual athletes. and the photos have become pretty much like time capsules of the era. Like that first initial NXT class, you go down to all the NXT classes with Bianca, you go to the ones with Otis, you can see the ones with fucking Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, you can see the ones with Aleister Black, and they just had one that posted today that I thought was so interesting, because there's like only one person left. But I forgot. But yeah, nah, the PC, listen, they've between doing that, the halftime heat thing, which I thought was incredible.
Really good.
The shows and everything like that. Like, yeah, this is like the 10 years Performance Center, 10 years of NXT, 10 years of like kind of what WWE is now moving forward. And I would love to go to the PC at some point. Maybe Justin will take me someday. I don't
Would you
know.
ever go? I mean, would you go if I was to be like, "Yo, Meelz, we going to the PC.
We
Let's."
going to the PC? Like straight up, like we're going to the PC.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I get to the PC, would you go?
Yeah, sure.
And no, sure or yes.
Yes, I will
Okay.
go.
All right. Okay.
Let me know. I'm trying to do a 450 in front of H real quick.
Boy, they about to have your ass doing spear drills, eh?
I'll do that too, but I gotta let them know I got one. I got one in me every 6 months, so that'll be one, and then 6 months later, I got another one.
Oh shit. Listen, that's been amazing. We might have to talk about it. Do we want to talk about it during the kind of like recap of the shows? Because this LA Night thing is definitely a thing. Like the LA.
It, let's talk about that during the shows because the LA Night thing was something we brought up during Why You Mad last week. And thank you guys for listening to the show last week, especially our Patreon segment where we went an hour on our top 10 wrestlers of the year so far. What'd you think about that segment, Sid?
I enjoyed it. I I I understood why Mills didn't put women in there, but like
Crazy.
I get it sometimes because you could make your own separate list with it. So,
That's
but
crazy to say. No, there
but
was
I
no.
also got J5's side of like having Becky
I
and
love
Bianca.
how that's the like lasting point of it. I understand why he didn't include women because yeah,
I
go off.
get it. And then I also get having AEW guys. I did when it came to MJF. When you were talking about him, I was like, in my head, I was like, is it just MJF's issue? Is not that he's a bad wrestler, but are his matches overbooked? And is he his promo? We know the issues with the promo is low hanging fruit, but I was like, is it the issue of his matches being overbooked with so many tropes that it kind of makes it hard to really enjoy his wrestling?
I think there's an element of that is true, but I also feel like with MJF, you're also not getting overbookedness in that way on that program. I think that it's very old school, and I think
Yeah.
that's why the crowd has a visceral reaction to it, other than 25 kickouts. You know what I mean? Like the booking for like a Kenny or a Bucks or any of those other guys' matches is the amount of kickouts and ways they can drop somebody on their head. MJF is more about how he's going to win and slip by and get away with it. And I think that's why I said like, yo, he's never really had like a bad match this year. Even if you haven't liked them, they haven't been like a mock smash. And that's why I was trying to kind of coming from.
Okay, yeah, because that was my thing. I just thought like with the Adam Cole thing, I was like, you've done all this. What can y'all even do in the next match now that you've done like everything?
Oh,
And
they'll
this is
figure
just
it out.
for a draw. Yeah, of course they'll figure it out, but like it was just so. And I have a prediction on what might happen, but we'll see.
Oh,
But
nothing. They're gonna he's gonna put some pre workout in Adam Cole's mouth or in his, and then he's gonna pin him. I mean, that's what it's gonna be.
I had a feeling Roddy might get involved, but maybe I'm.
Ooh, okay, that'll be interesting. I hope not, but
Yeah, I know,
Roddy,
but it might like we'll see.
Who
you know
wants
what I
to?
wanted. You know what I wanted to ask, and we can kind of get into this. So it's been a month of Collision thus far. We've reached. Thank you. Outside, we it's been a month of Collision thus far, or
Two, two of those episodes have been taped, but yes, go ahead.
okay, sure. I wanted to get everyone's kind of like temperature on like, all right, we've seen Collision, we've kind of seen their direction thus far. is it truly like an alternative? How do we kind of like feel about it? Kind of what you have seen, if you've seen anything like Collision, they talked about, I think Tony Initial said like it wasn't going to be a hard roster split, but to be honest with you, it looks very hard. Like outside of a few appearances from MJF and like a couple ones, who have appeared on show, maybe like Tony Storm or something along those lines, you haven't really seen much like integration between both shows. So like to get you guys' take on like how do you feel like Collision thus far? Started off pretty strong, fell off pretty hard, seemingly bouncing back with a big main event last week.
What's the bounce back though, Meelz? The bounce back is
it bounced up
It
from
didn't lose to Rampage. That's the bounce back.
the 580 is a bounce back.
It's gonna have to be. It's Saturday.
Here's my thing. 1 week it was terrible. Then they do the same numbers again the next week, and it's high. This good. We straight. 500K is 500K, bro. That's I'm not even looking at demo here, bro. Like that's a demo of 500,000 people. That's a demographic of 500,000 people. That does not mean that they've grown any audience at all. That just means people tuned in that weekend because it wasn't July 4th weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it looked like to me. And it wasn't taped. That's what it looked like to me. I think that in the month that it's been on, Collision has accurately created it. Here's my and I said this a month ago, and I said they have successfully split their own audience twice. They've got an audience that likes the Dynamite stuff, and they got an audience that likes the Punk stuff on Collision. That's why people were saying it was regaining, restoring the feeling. That was what they said, right? It's restoring the feeling. It's restoring the feeling of splitting and segmenting your audience again. So they've segmented their audience back down to 500K, 400K, whatever it is. And I think the quality of the show is notwithstanding. I think in-ring, as I've always said, has never been AEW's problem. It has never been their problem. But getting people to give a fuck is the problem. There's a reason why SmackDown does so much, and their shows with just wrestling do nothing for real, because it's not all about that.
I feel like I've generally looked at the direction of Collision thus far. I think it is a little bit of a breath of fresh air seeing a show centered around new phases, because Dynamite is heavily leaning towards elite and elite related people, fans or things, and then you'll see the Orange Cassidy and stuff like that. So it is actually refreshing seeing them focus on different people, but you're still not really getting the development that you would like out of these kind of talent. You'd still not getting it's essentially Dynamite happening on Rampage with different people. And I don't know if they have any intention on making it feel different other than like paying for an expensive set every week. But I think what they need to do is, I like the fact that, you know what I like? I like the fact that House of Black is prominently featured on the show. I like the fact that CM Punk, who kind of like gets it in terms of an actual pro wrestler, is featured heavily on the show. But then I also like that they've been doing these things with like Ricky Starks over the last number of weeks, and now they had this face turn for Hobbs for whatever fucking reason. And a couple other things on the show. I like that it's not featuring. I think that's the only thing that people like, that it's not heavily leaning towards elite. That's kind of like the basis. That's the selling point of Collision to wrestling fans. Now, is it a selling point as a TV show? No, it's not.
But yo, Meelz, that's bad. If your selling point is that, well, the people you don't like are on Wednesdays, that's not, like I said, I'm pretty sure like when they're,
but I don't think it needs to be like you don't have to like them. I think you can just be exhausted you can be exhausted with how much you see them versus how you see everybody else.
Listen to what you're saying. Look, you're saying that this company that is trying to get you to buy into every one of their roster members is aware that you're tired of them, but won't change course. So they made a whole nother show to appease one person. That's that good.
I mean, it definitely is that point. But I don't know. There is something very like easy watching about this show. Whereas there is a lot of frustration with Dynamite that I don't get out of Collision. And maybe it's because I have no expectations for Collision at all. Maybe it's because of that. But the frustration that you see with Dynamite when they have like tomorrow we're getting, or tonight, depending on when you listen to this, Chris Jericho versus Commander, and some other Blood and Guts. So Blood and Guts is happening this week, or no, it's next week. But we're figuring out who the hell are the mystery opponents this week. Interesting. So I don't know. It is what it is. We kind of seen all the iterations of Mox versus the Elite at this point. But seeing CM Punk versus Ricky Starks and a thing, maybe that's a little bit more interesting, and it's a lot less. I don't know what
I
it
feel
doesn't
like,
make my brain hurt.
but that's my thing is that, like, how long is this novelty gonna last for you after this month? How long is the novelty gonna last? They only run about the same 7 people over and over again on these shows. Like, there's not many combinations of that you can get. It's very clear here, Mills, that there is a line in the sand. People want to within that locker room, not just the fans, but in the locker room too, of who wants to be on what show. And I think that, as you said before, this is the show that's going to be for people who are tired. I'm putting air quotes, who are tired of what the Elite's doing, and instead of just changing course or breaking them away from each other, or trying to, for the love of God, maybe try and make some money and do the actual Elite CM Punk feud, which is, I swear to you, the last and probably the most money they could make out of a program if they actually decide to do that, and just fucking Tony make them do it, because you have them here. That's the only way that it's going to be interesting.
I can't see them doing that anytime soon. If I'm the Elite, I mean, the Elite seems like they don't want that to happen. CM Punk is like, whatever. But it's different when you're the aggressor in this kind of thing. When you beat up people, you can kind of say like, I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? When you got beat up, you kind of like take it a little bit harder. But yeah, I don't know. Collision, it's a show. It is what it is. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this kind of goes as the months go on. It's only going to get tougher. It literally is only going to get tougher. It does not get easier. And Tony
Football
Khan does
season's
not.
coming.
Everything is coming, bro.
Football.
Everything.
And they just added this little intriguing NBA tournament. Some special episodes. Rampage gonna be in the dirt, because I think they said it's Tuesday and Fridays. I know that for sure. But if they gotta do a special Friday show for Collision, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, or midnight for Collision. I mean, come on. They're gonna be playing when BT Uncut comes on, like, or when it comes on.
I'm gonna still watch Baby Boy over Collision. I don't care.
Yeah, like it's just not. And again, like the argument was last week. Well, everybody knew Saturday was gonna be a tough sell. Like, why the fuck did you do it?
That's the worst. That's the worst part about it. That everyone's suddenly realizing like it's a Saturday show when those numbers came out last week. Like, it's a Saturday show. Like, you had to know. It was like, yeah, but stand in your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's not what you were touting when the show was going live. The last thing on every AEW fan's mind was like, it's on Saturday. They were like, oh, it's gonna be the Punk show, and we're gonna see a lot of action here and there and there.
It was Punk coming back. They might pull a mill on Saturday. I said, nigga, no, that's not gonna happen.
Everything's went downhill since he's called himself One Bill Phil.
He's half a mil, Phil.
Listen, I don't blame it on him though. I don't blame it on him. For the reasons why it's on Saturday. It's poorly, like we've seen it. All right, so we segue this into not totally SmackDown, but SmackDown ratings, right? So SmackDown for the first time hit over 3 million in viewership in a very, very long time. And to be honest with you, the last number of months, it has not just been this week. I mean, since pretty much the Sami Zayn storyline really got moved into the forefront and the fall of the bloodline kind of thing, SmackDown has been doing gangbusters because of this number. And we had this argument because we were talking about, well, it's not really an argument, but we had this thing because we were reading the Observer letter as we tend to do. And this conversation surrounding like, it's interesting listening to Meltzer kind of like figure out in real time that not figure out, but admit in real time that AEW numbers are down and WWE numbers are up, but he's not specifically stating why WWE numbers are down. I mean, AEW numbers are down. He's just saying that realistically, it should be, it should be rising all tides, that kind of thing where like, wrestling is doing better because they're doing better, but it's not.
Shitty product.
And
Shitty
right,
product. Why won't people see this? There is not
or
like
admit it.
you are getting something very different than what you were getting in AEW on WWE. Whether you like them or not, this isn't tribalism or whatever. You are getting stories, you're getting matches, you're getting established characters, you're getting a lot of superstars on that show. This is a problem that they had. I bring this up a lot of times. They had a real star problem in 2019. They had a real star problem in 2020. I think the Thunderdome honestly really changed a lot of things. And we're gonna go back and people aren't gonna believe it, but I think the Thunderdome did a lot of good for Bailey. It did a lot of good for Drew McIntyre. It did a lot of good for established for Roman. It did a lot of good for all of those people that are on the roster now, especially Seth Rollins, who's extremely over now. Like they were ready for these people when the crowds got back. And by the time AEW got crowds back or whenever whatever they were doing the same thing they were doing in 2019 that they're doing right now. They have no established stories that are that compelling. Like, what's a compelling story to you in AEW? Is it CM Punk versus young dudes?
I don't know. There's nothing really. You can't really say there's a compelling story at all. I mean, realistically, people will always point to the kind of stuff that's going with the elite, but I don't even think people are resonating towards that anymore. I think the what's been working in WWE and now they've transitioned it to kind of like Raw, as you see with the Judgment Day storylines, is that stories are really pushing wrestling and actually quality television. Like beyond the fact that you're having this action in the ring is really pushing kind of like how things are going. And AEW hasn't wisened up to the point to kind of like realize that like there's only so much point you can put on matches, right? And we see matches till we're blue in the face, and then someone will get sick or injured and something like that, and they'll just replace them in the match instead of like figuring out how this affects an actual story. So AEW's priorities are the matches and selling the matches on this show, and that's never been the case. Like it really hasn't. And they currently like even one popular story, I think would increase their, people would be tuning in to kind of see that because now wrestling fans are conditioned to like, okay, what's the next step? They're so conditioned. Like if you look at the rating breakdowns for Friday Smackdown, it goes up during the Bloodline segment, and then when the in-ring stuff starts, it's like, all right, never mind.
Yo, it's too late. It's too late for that because you know why? You're still missing that one point. Mills, established stars that people care about. They don't care
Can
about.
can AEW successfully? What's the star that AEW has successfully? I mean, I guess you can say MJF,
I thought it was
but
gonna
I
be.
feel like
They had the Acclaimed, and then they dropped them for FTR.
I agree. I agree in that standpoint. I feel like MJF is. I feel like the majority of his success is based in spite of AEW at a lot of points. To be honest with you, um, because he was the hottest thing on. I don't blame AEW for MJF's success, even though he is featured on their show. So I understand that part. But realistically, like he was going to be who he was with or without AEW there. He was going to be the loudmouth person. And that, even to the point where his own character created contention between him in terms of like what he felt like he was worth in that company, and he stepped away from it. So I feel like when I look at a star that AEW has kind of made that can maybe go like I don't want to say transcend, um, that can reach kind of like superstar status, there's not really, everyone's just kind of wrestlers.
That's the
Like,
problem.
yeah. It's like you don't really see when you go to a movie, you see these people as characters, but they're also like larger in life representation of things. And you don't really get that with AEW. It's kind of like their representation of wrestlers. So now you're just looking at people wrestle and that's their occupation. But you don't get lost in the actual television moment in itself. There's very few times where you're like, oh my God, all this. I don't know, but maybe my brain works differently because people be going nuts over this shit, to be honest with you.
I
I
mean,
looked at,
yeah,
go ahead.
all 1,500 people in there be going nuts for sure.
Yeah. But people like I don't know. People be going nuts over this thing. I think the one that they got going on is the Eddie Kingston and Moxley thing. which you can listen to Cyrus every week on the War Report to figure out how that doesn't make sense. And he's forward of the fashion. Like, he's been cooking for like the last couple months, and now decides he has a problem with it. So, I mean, this is the age old thing. AEW needs storytellers. It's WWE's right
They're
there doing the
trying with
proper
Andrade.
with who?
With Andrade and Malachi with the story of the mask, but it's like
Oh yeah,
the thing is Andrade really has never talked about the mask, so it's kind of random.
but I
But
feel like that's also, I don't want to thing from the storytellers over there, but I also feel like that's a Malachi Black thing.
yeah,
Malachi doesn't
very
like
much.
having programs for no fucking reason. He likes them if his entire thing has been he doesn't want to be featured on TV unless it's actually in a prominent role, actually doing something. He doesn't want to be out there just kicking people like the Dark Order does, and
Right.
become a bunch of jobbers and sloppy,
But you,
wrestlers and all this other shit.
but you really think that's about to be? I'm even talking about Bloodline here. You really think that's about to be better than whatever Seth's doing or whatever Judgment Day starting to
Oh,
do?
of course not. Of course not.
Nah, but I feel like there is a lot more dedicated people towards like the idea of like we're writing this television show and we're making it compelling every week. Whereas I think even in AEW, like there is creative, but it's creative from the mind of a wrestler that doesn't necessarily who may not have the background of like, okay, where does this hit its climax? Where do we hit our peak? Where's the rising, the climax, and the resolution? Like all simple parts of a story. Like they may lose that part of it. You know what I'm saying? Leading to that match, but I don't know. We'll see. Mira's in a fucking room every week, and I'm like, bro, what are you still doing here? You came back, like wrestle, like you know what I'm saying? Like it's a
No, he good where he at.
forget you.
He good where he at.
Um,
I want to talk about the LA Knight thing. I want to bring up what Kevin Nash said on his podcast this past week. Um, he actually had a new episode out this week where he continues to talk about it, and he says he's been going in on LA Knight. But last week he said about LA Knight, he said, "Am I the only one that sees an absolute rip off of The Rock to the point where he cut the promo on Logan Paul or whatever the fuck his name is? He said, 'Yeah, stick it.' The only thing he didn't do was turn that motherfucker sideways. Does everybody have amnesia? There's nothing original." His promos. Finally, LA Knight has come back as a white guy. If you don't put that money in the bank in Paul's hands, so you can say, so you can the rest of the year say, "Oh fuck yeah, he's the wild card," or will Logan Paul be there? If you don't get some mileage out of that, then I don't know about this guy. I don't know about this guy, LA Knight. I don't know him, but I'll tell you one thing. I got a text message from him. I'm gonna read what it says. "Hey Nash, I know you don't know me. I got an idea of this character. He's called the Scorpion King. What do you think? This is bullshit, okay? Rock was a Scorpion King. Then he said he's in talks with Disney. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Did LA Knight really text this nigga?
I have no idea, but it's
What
clear
strand
for
was
Kevin.
Kevin Nash on?
You know what's crazy? You have to be an elite white guy for Kevin Nash to really have respect for you in any sort of the way. He is not impressed by the white guys that are just like pushing along and getting through life. All that privileged shit he doesn't give a fuck about. That's so fucking funny.
I he's woke. I'll say in some sense
He's woke.
about LA Knight. About LA Knight.
Yes.
About LA Knight. In some sense, yes. I think the reason it's working is because he's using a cadence and a tone that is the fans like to hear. That's just how you speak on a mic. I mean, from The Rock, I mean, even down to Dusty Rhodes, like there's a certain cadence that you hear when LA Knight talks. And I think that when you get to the actual matches, you don't really hear that rabid response other than like Money in the Bank when it's something where Money in the Bank kind of it elicits that type of response because you're going up the ladder, right? That like that's where it's like, oh, you
Right.
want to get the briefcase. That match elicits that. A singles match, I don't know because I like LA Knight. I think he's cool. I think that he has a presence. I liked him in NXT. I haven't minded him here. I know that there's a lot of other things going on that have kept other people off TV too. I mean, where's Cameron Grimes? I mean, he's on again, now he's off again. You know what I'm saying? But there's so much stuff going on as they build up to the next thing right now. But I think that the argument right now is that LA Knight needs to get this. He's being disrespected. All of this stuff. I'm like, let's be clear here. He is still not the biggest star on that show. He's on Roman Reigns' show, not LA Knight's show. And I think that's what people need to remember.
Yeah.
LA Knight, all right, my opinion, I feel like the internet is doing a lot, which is great for LA Knight. But like, I don't think even long term it is going to work out for LA Knight. I feel like LA Knight, despite we can see the thing. First of all, there was a lot of posts about like LA Knight because I think Kevin Nash said like he's never been over anywhere he's
Anywhere
been.
else.
Like,
Yeah.
why is this like the first time I'm really hearing about him? And then people showing pictures with the like Impact Championship and like
I was
Let's
there.
him
that
holding up the $1 million title and like
well, the thing about the people posting the Impact shit is that like they don't remember all the shit that came before that. He was booked like absolute shit in Impact. He was basically a jobber in Impact. Like Kevin Nash is actually not wrong there. And when he finally won the Impact Championship, he lost it like really quickly after that. Like
He
that was
lost
not
it to Austin Aries in a 4-second match.
exactly like he wasn't over anywhere else because he wasn't over. Like this is the first time he's ever been over. Like Kevin Nash is not lying here. And I think that the internet is like I saw like the fucking Yeah Nation and I said, yo, we are doing too much. How come Karrion didn't get this? You feel me?
4K game.
I'm not 4K game. I feel, but I think you know what? You know what's the crazy part? Let me get into my kind of like rendition on SmackDown, right? So, shout out to WWE for providing tickets for SmackDown. I went with Ugly New York Rob. Shout out to Rob, amazing person to be sitting and talking wrestling with. But I get there kind of a little bit early on the early side. Rob's I think he's getting drinks and stuff like that. So we get there. It's 7:43, and they're like, "We got a special thing for you coming up on SmackDown." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is kind of neat." So Hit Row comes out, and we're like, "Oh, fuck!" And Hit Row is completely not over because they're in MSG and they do a Knicks thing, and everyone sells it because we're like, as bad as the Knicks are, they are still more successful than Hit Row. Like Hit Row's impervious to Knicks, hurting the feelings of Knicks fans. And then LA Knight's music hit, and everyone who managed to be sitting down because it was not filled up as of yet, because everyone, like I said, was getting drinks, everyone was in the bathroom, stuff like that. Everyone was sick. Shout out to everyone else who went to the MSG show, the RWC who went to the MSG show, because they also didn't make it because they were out. I didn't meet up with them, but they were out drinking beforehand. They were pre-gaming for the show, and they didn't make it to see LA Knight, and everyone was pissed, and rightfully so. LA Knight is very, very hot, and he's on the show. So in my brain, I was like, oh, they'll probably use this for .com, and sure enough, it's on YouTube. And now I see all these kind of like, these publications, they tracking the number of this. It's like it's the highest rated non-bloodline segment on that's been uploaded to YouTube. And I'm like, who the fuck cares?
Then the Judgment Day did like 2 million or some shit like that, like a day later or something. I'm like, oh, they always do 1 million on everything. Are y'all just not paying attention?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like I understand that people love LA Knight and people are infatuated with LA Knight. But slow it down, bro. Slow it down. There's a lot of reasons for why this thing is happening the way it's happening. And the mere fact that he even got in front of the crowd at MSG, and a lot of people did it. And I mean a lot of people did it. SmackDown has a bunch of superstars who are just sitting there. We were talking about in the Discord about Bobby Lashley and where the hell Bobby Lashley is. That's a whole conversation in itself. But we're going to wait till Bobby Lashley returns, or we hear he talks about his contract or some other shit to have that conversation. But he got out there, and I think he wowed the crowd, and I think it continues to emphasize the point. I think WWE in the point also knows what they're doing.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do. You make something that hot scarce, like it's a rare sneaker. You don't want to overexpose them. Let's just be clear. Like, you don't want to overexpose him where he's not going to fit. Like, he did not fit on that episode of SmackDown because I think they already knew that first segment was going to go long and it was going to be a hit. And that's all they needed. All they needed on that SmackDown was that first 40 minutes of the show, honestly.
I heard it wasn't supposed to be 40 minutes.
They niggas knew it was going to go long, though. Niggas knew. long.
So from what I've heard from rumblings of being in MSG, that first segment was supposed to go 25 minutes and it went like 38 minutes. It
Damn.
went so over that, again, like that's why you saw all the short matches that are happening afterwards, and they kind of had to like make up time during the show. So nothing really got cut, but a lot of things happened quickly. But at the same time, it's like, who gonna
Fine.
check them?
Yeah, like,
Who gonna
fine.
check-
I I was fucking sports entertained. That fucking segment came off really well on TV. But we'll get to that in a second. But back to LA Knight, I don't think that I think Kevin Nash is being a little blunt. Yes, he is being a little blunt. But I also don't think that there's anything he's exactly lying about. Like I think that he is definitely waiting to see LA Knight impress him. And I'm sure that that moment's gonna come. But I think that people need to like cool their fucking jets, right? And relax, re fucking lax. It's
He
going to
hasn't done anything. He
he has
really hasn't.
he hasn't done anything but make you guys happy. Let him build the story. And the thing is about this regime is that they're all about the moments, but they're all about getting you there week to week before you get to the major moments. And they've just turned this guy babyface. He is firmly a babyface now. They have just turned babyface.
But he's still beating up Hit Row. Like, you understand that, right? Like, realistically, like, he's not to the point. I think everyone wants to push him to the level where he's like, people are talking about he should have won Money in the Bank. People talking about
Ugh.
he should be Austin Theory, all this other stuff like that. Like, we need to get one foot in front of the other. I don't think he should be facing Austin Theory right now because, to be honest with you, I think he's going to lose. I really do. I think they're going to maximize on the fevered reaction to LA Knight mixed with him not have proven himself fully yet, and put him in the ring against Austin Theory, and Austin Theory will beat him, and Austin Theory will get booed, and everyone will get happy because everyone will apparently have done their jobs. So I think everyone needs to slow down, and everyone needs to like, okay, let's get it step by step, day by day. We'll make it happen. And if it's meant to be, it will be. But from, with damn police.
That's the gear movement coming after you, Meelz.
But I think realistically, I want to see him in a actual program. An actual program. You know what I'm saying? So that remains to be seen. But yeah, I don't know. LA Knight, y'all are doing a lot. It's on y'all more than LA Knight. LA Knight's just doing his job in a sense, but y'all are doing a lot. Now, the moment LA Knight decides to bank in on himself, then we're gonna see what happens there.
Yeah. I got some injury reports. Bray Wyatt still sidelined with the same illness that has kept him out of action since the first quarter of the year. This is according to Fightful. According to their report, WWE has been hesitant to make plans for Wyatt because getting him clear has been a more difficult process than expected. It also doesn't help now that Alexa Bliss is now on maternity leave, making any plans for her quite impossible for the time being, regardless of Bray Wyatt's health. So I'm guessing that they were going to go ahead and put them back together, and now that got blown up. Former NXT champion Johnny Gargano has still been out with injury, still not cleared. His status for SummerSlam remains unknown, with the status of a possible reunion with Tommaso Ciampa has been put on hold for the time being because he's suffering from a reoccurring shoulder injury, and he's been factored into certain things on creative, like the Cleveland show they did a couple of weeks ago, but he has not been cleared to return to in-ring action. If I had to guess, I think we are going towards the Gargano return before Wyatt return. It looks like that match that might still be happening, or in some way, shape, or form. Probably not at SummerSlam, to be honest with you, but probably sometime on TV.
Yeah,
I agree.
From what we've seen on Raw, it looks like the seeds are still being planted. So
yes, absolutely. So I mean, I think that report might have been a little smoke, but the Bray Wyatt one is still definitely confirmed, and I'm starting to feel as though the Bray Wyatt thing might not be I'm sick anymore. I think it might be I'm sick of your creative, and we're at an impasse at this point.
which he wouldn't be the only guy to feel that way, or it seemingly feel that way. So, um, it's interesting to see. Yeah, but he doesn't really have a place on the fucking show, so it's not really a fault of like, it's a fault of his character. You know what I'm saying? You're on a show where I guess a majority of the time now is taken up by actual wrestling and then also character development. But you exist in this universe itself where everything has to orbit around you and everything has to stop, and you have to spend 4 weeks coming out and talking about nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to see a bloodline segment and then we go into like a 9-minute Firefly Funhouse segment that takes us nowhere. So it's like,
And don't get me wrong, he's uber popular. He's insanely popular. He's a force. He is over. Don't get me wrong. It's just he is, like we've talked about so many times before, an albatross on this show that is, it's very hard to book around him. And we talked about it in our, Discord as well. There are a couple other people who are similar albatrosses. It was just hard to figure them in this show. You have to be kind of like malleable when doing this thing, and then you also have to be kind of, it almost benefits you not being an unstoppable force in this era of WWE,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're Roman.
Well, you can't have two unstoppable forces on the show. You know what I
No, you
mean?
can't.
Like Bray just takes up too much of the fucking show. And I definitely feel like some of that might be health related, but some of that also might be we don't know what the fuck to is going on at this point with this guy. So I don't know. But let's get into the weekly shows real quick. I know you talked about your time at MSG. I mean, I guess let's really talk about that opening segment. It opened with the Bloodline Tribal Court Part 2, this time putting Roman on the stand between the Usos. Very long segment. I think everyone kind of knows this already. On TV Meelz, it was a very long part. I don't know if you knew this or you knew this already, but like a lot of this was commercial free. And I don't know how they pulled this off on Fox, but a lot of it was free.
Well, it was commercial free for me entirely,
I,
but
I,
so I
I mean,
have.
obviously, but like there were the only time we had a commercial on TV was but after Roman came out, and then it
Yeah,
was straight through.
because he was standing in the ring for a long time, and we were like, do we still put our ones up? Can we put them down?
the most
Um,
awkward part about being live.
yeah. Commercials, because Asuka, they had Asuka dancing for 3 minutes before she showed back up on television. Um,
Rug.
she was doing some shit.
It's funny. 3 minutes probably don't feel like 3 minutes to them. That probably just feels like boop boop boop, and then you're back.
Nah, yeah, it's very very quick. It's very very quick. None of the breaks lasted that long, and people were just happy to see them. This segment, I thought, went a little long in the tooth. To be honest with you, I thought, as much as great as this is done, and as great as the number this is done, this was kind of like, I feel like if they had taped this would be the director's cut version, and they would have shortened it somehow. Because there are like times, I get Jey Uso looking strong, but like he literally he makes like 3 comebacks in this entire segment, and I was like, is he down or not?
I don't
Like
think I didn't feel like the comebacks were the problem. I felt like they got lost in space in the first part of that segment. Roman saying, "No, I
I don't really
didn't."
feel like a court.
Well, there were no chairs, so I automatically knew it was going to be a fracas that was going to break out. But um,
Uso's hood boogery, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, they could at least had like folding chairs, but um, and like one of them picnic tables, like the little fold out plastic tables you get from Walmart for cookout. They could have that was Uso's tribal court.
Something
Um,
like that.
but I felt like Jay got lost sometimes promo wise. I felt like Roman for the first time. I was shocked. I was like, did they know what they're gonna? Because I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop, and they're just staring at each other. And I felt like they were like, no, you do this next. And I feel like in a way, the segment was so long, and they had so many points to hit that they did forget where to go. So to me, it wasn't the best promo night for Roman, who is usually really strong. But I feel like the physicality of it was sound. It came off to me on TV because y'all motherfuckers were so loud. That's why it came off so well on TV. Like they had
Oh,
the
word?
they had the crowd in the palm of their hands, and it really came off as a really hot segment. For the full, I guess the rest of the moment that we got was the rest of the 25 minutes, I guess. Um, so it's pretty confront. It's weird that they set up SummerSlam matches, but they haven't announced any yet. But it seems clear that we're gonna go after the Jay Roman thing again with Roman and Solo taking out Jimmy. I really like the belt shot with the belt shots to his head. That was brutal, but I feel like they had the wrong camera angle for that. They actually don't show us it from the front, which I thought would have been a lot more effective. But I really thought the last half to me was stronger than the first half.
What do you think, Sid?
Well, I didn't originally, like, I wasn't home at first when I first watched SmackDown, so I was like, oh dang, I missed the segment. I didn't expect the tribal court to start off, but when I saw it was like I get turning it on finally, and they still beating Jimmy ass, I was like, whoa, this is going on for a long time. But I like the segment. Roman really trying to get some acting awards because he was out here crying, and it was just a good show to me, or a good start for the
I mean,
show.
the low blow was very Shakespearean. I thought that was the best camera angle they got all show was the
Yeah,
whole camera angle of the low blow.
but
Um,
I felt like that should have led to whatever the table thing that happened. Like I felt like there was so much in between that low blow. Maybe I'm bugging. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong because
it
No,
goes,
yeah,
again,
it
no,
goes,
yeah, because they
it goes,
beat up Solo, and then Solo looks at the lay.
yeah. And he looks at the lay for way too long. And
Yeah.
I felt
yeah,
the look at the lay should have been 10 seconds tops. That y'all were already like MSG was already into that. They were already into the lay being on the ground. Like they were fucking with it. And then they come back and then it gets to the table point. I think that one little spot in the inside the ring takes a really long time. And then there's a part where Jay pops back up and then it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's like we get it. Jay looks strong. He's not ever not looked strong. You know what I mean? Like Jay has always looked strong in the past 3 years. I think you kind of got that idea, but I thought that I agree. Like if you went from the low blow to the outside stuff on the table, then it probably would have came off a lot better. But I mean, look, it had people for the whole 40 minutes. Like that is the biggest retention rate that I've ever seen in a wrestling show for a really long time. Like they treated that like it was fucking Roman having a match on SmackDown. Like they
yeah.
treated it like a big deal. And it's hard to say, it's hard to argue numbers here, but it was a success, regardless of how we felt about it. Like a lot of people, it really resonated with a lot of people on Friday night.
Now let me tell you what didn't resonate. It was suck the whole fucking energy out of the room immediately after that segment.
Anytime.
Down,
That's exactly what happened. I
Ravens down.
everybody was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, my thing was usually for MSG shows they get a little bit more out, but a lot of these matches we'd seen already. So maybe I'm spoiled. Maybe I'm coming off as a spoiled brat for that. But hey, whatever. Live experience WWE can't be matched. Um, but I don't think people were until probably around the end of the match. I don't think people were really into this Austin Theory Sheamus match, which is all thing a good match. But yeah, the theory we might have to talk about theory because we're approaching the same kind of thing we were approaching last year with theory.
Can
Where
can
it's
we
like, go
can
ahead.
we talk about him when we get to another match that happened later on the show? Because I want to compare and contrast with a certain
Okay.
new superstar.
Well, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Um, AJ Styles carrying Cross. It happened. Your thoughts, 4K gang?
I mean, listen, they need to remake Gunna "Fuck You Me" instead of "EI." It needs to be
Don't
EI.
don't give me time. Don't give me any time.
Well, what you want? What do you want me to say? I mean, it obviously got cut for time. They've been I think AJ has been the biggest proponent of this bloodline thing. I know a lot of people can't wait for Roman to go on vacation. They are counting the days when they can get their show back because a lot of things are getting cut. I mean, I think that these two had the potential. I mean, even with what they did in the time they had allotted, it looked like it was gonna be a good match, but
Yeah, it
it
was
just
still pretty. It was sweet.
yeah, like it just got cut down like so much. And I need them to get the ball on AJ Rowland here and get him factored into something major.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Edge eventually shows up because he's on the Grayson Waller effect. And he's talking about Grayson Waller's like, you got an announcement, man. Tell us about your announcement. And Edge is like, fuck you talking about, bro? And he's like, you're going to retire. I like this is an Edge says like, no, I'm not going to retire, which got a pop out of the crowd. And this leads to a match between Grayson Waller and Edge pretty much before Jey Uso comes back out. So it's like the main event of the evening, but it doesn't close the show. I thought it was a very sound match, very good performance by Grayson Waller. They're putting him in the ring with a veteran. He swam, apparently. Anytime you're ready, Sid. Well, go ahead, Justin.
I feel like you're underrating just how really impressive and really dope that moment was for Grayson Waller. Like I
It
think
is, but it happened on the show where a very
stuff.
monumental thing happened, and then it also happened after a near cash in as well.
it was a monumental thing that like you are kind of down, like thumbs in the middle, leading down on. Like it's still,
because it's
like,
I wasn't. Go ahead.
but I mean, like I feel like you're like you're like underrating it when it's actually a really great match. And I think that it showed that Edge again can be kind of like that North Star to newer talent. But this is Grayson Waller's first match against Edge.
In
He was
MSG.
at MSG. He was
The main event.
drafted. He was drafted like in like the supplemental shit, wasn't he? Like super, or he was last or
He was
some
the
shit.
last. He was the last one. Yeah.
He was
It's
the
basically
last
like
one
a Taco
drafted.
Bell commercial.
Like this is actually a big vote of confidence. I said this a couple months ago. I said that it is very telling that they took Grayson they basically say, I'm gonna take Grayson before, and this is before I know that Braun had a world title match. I know that Melo was on Raw. I know this. This is before all those things happened. The vote of confidence that they had in this guy, and they continue to have. Even when he was injured, he was still factored on TV, whether we like the segments or not. They still wanted people to know and see his face, right? The moment at Money in the Bank with John Cena, big moment for him, and he swam there too. They are factoring this guy in to do some big things on this show in a way that they're not doing it for fucking LA Knight, in a way that they're not doing it for Theory, in a way they're not doing it for a lot of people on that show. And I think that we need to really be paying attention to how well he came off there and really got the crowd behind him, and he reacted. Like there were so many things he did in that match to show me like, wow, like he feels like he belonged there. And I was super impressed by Grayson Waller on SmackDown. But I'm sorry to say, go ahead.
I just wanted to compare, Theory and Grayson, because I'm starting to believe that what Theory was to Vince is what Grayson is to H, and I'm starting to think that the tides might be turning. It might be cooked with Theory soon if he doesn't, figure it out, because Grayson, that Money in the Bank, got a reaction, being in the ring with Cena, and Cena ain't rip into him like he did with Theory, and then the whole "you swam" thing. And I was telling a friend, because he didn't like that ending with the "you swam," and I'm like, think about what just happened with Cena and Theory months ago, and what Theory what was said
Days ago.
yeah. And now look at what Edge said to Grayson in a situation where it's like you're gonna hang in here, and it's like what Cena said months ago still is hitting today, like piped in sounds. Nobody really cares with Theory, so it's like Grayson is like, we might have something here for real.
I don't know. I guess the match came at a certain time for me where I wasn't really enthralled with a lot of things. I understand the importance it has for Grayson Waller. But it just, I don't know, the moment, because of how the show was kind of structured and sitting there kind of live through it, it didn't necessarily hit the same because of all the happenings of the show that night. Like, to be honest with you, the opening segment, I'm not gonna say it was, I think it was long, and then it also took the crowd out of a lot of the actual show itself. because people were just kind of like waiting for whatever happens next afterwards. So I think it did take it a lot out of the actual show itself, even though, they were hot for certain moments, but realistically, like I think it did take a lot out of the show. Sitting there for 40 minutes, like it was
And
crazy.
during the Edge match too, it was like Michael Cole. I believe it was the Edge match. Michael Cole was making the announcement. Like Jay was back, and he kept hinting and hinting and hinting, like he came back too. So it was kind of like I can get that because even from the perspective of a viewer on TV, it was like they're still talking about bloodline stuff even through this match. So I can see why like once somebody kind of hears that Jay is back, they're like, I'm gonna stay through this match, but I really don't care for it. Like I'm ready to see what happens with Jay being back in the building. So
So
What do you guys think?
you mean to
Go
tell me
ahead.
people were not over? They were not hyped for Edge. Is that what you
oh
guys
yeah,
have?
I would say they were.
That's not what I said.
Yeah,
People were hyped for Edge, but I don't think necessarily when the match came on. I mean, he's coming back for the second time in the night. When the match happened, it wasn't like a match like an Edge versus like someone who has been completely established on television. It's still Edge versus Grayson Waller. So the
so you
crowd
didn't.
wasn't the crowd wasn't necessarily bustling and hustling for this actual match. This is, again, introduction to a very big crowd for the first time. So it didn't have all of that history built into it. It literally had like 25 minutes of history built into it. This guy's annoying. Everyone thinks he's annoying. Edge is going to shut him up. That's kind of it.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be how that match went. I kind of thought it would be either something quick or like Grayson loses by like a disqualification or something. I thought it was going further on. So
He had to lose. I'm fine with him losing.
yeah,
He loses all the time. He lost all the time in NXT. It's fine. Uh,
What did you think about the fake cash in? The
it
cash in attempt.
it heightened the segment that it was attached to by Miles. I think that there's some intrigue with EO. I think that there is some intrigue with the Bailey EO connection. I think that Asuka being the champion that is running away from all these people coming at her is a nice program for the summer. I think Asuka's playing it super well too, super cocky, but also shit. Like we're seeing Asuka as the shit eating heel, like the shit heel, like, and it's something I never thought she would do because she's always been portrayed as so powerful. But it's another wrinkle to her character that I think she's pulling off really well.
No, I agree. I think overall, I think once again, this entire segment was a sprint. It like fits the entire segment fits in the Twitter video. Like it's less than 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. It's literally Asuka comes out before she can really say anything. Bianca comes out before Bianca can really get anything out. Charlotte comes out, and then the cash in attempt happens, and then everyone else kind of gets involved, and that's kind of how the segment was. And I mean, I guess people who were watching the show, we got Zelina versus Lacey Evans before the actual show. So we got and it was a pretty long match, to be honest with you. It was legitimately like 12 minutes long. So we got our women's fix for the night. So I could, I'm pretty sure people on Twitter were kind of like upset of like, this is kind of like all that you kind of get. But, Roman show, what are you going to do? I'm pretty sure Roman isn't on coming up this week. Or maybe he might be. I don't know. They released a schedule?
I thought, yeah, they did release a schedule, and I thought that there was only like one SmackDown he wasn't going to be on, and I thought it was like the week before this one or 2 weeks ago, but they
It,
haven't
it,
announced the bar.
go ahead.
They haven't announced
Okay.
the bar. Yeah,
And then there's an episode of SmackDown coming up that's going to be on Fox Sports. So maybe that one is the one he won't be on, or maybe he will be on. Jey Uso comes back. He's pretty riled up. Like
they took
I
Jimmy
forgot.
Young.
Yeah, I was like, damn, okay, all right. And he holds up the. Go ahead.
he's not on this week. He's on in Orlando on the 21st.
Okay, so you get a week off. Everyone gets their time. Bianca versus Asuka is this week on SmackDown, so I'm sure that will get some sort of time. Yeah, Jey Uso comes back. He's defending the right of his role. It's rare to see Roman Reigns 2 times in the show, especially if we saw him for 40 minutes at the beginning of the show. So he's really working this episode.
Quote, working. I'm off next
Yeah.
week, so I'll do it one more time.
Hey, them boos was hitting too. I said, "Oh, man, y'all are loud in MSG." When he was trying to do the acknowledge me, y'all. I was like, "Oh man."
I still acknowledge him. But
Oh, come on, Meelz. One's down, man. One's down.
listen, I thought it was very impressive. I thought it was impressive beating and then Solo. I mean, I don't know. The Solo part of this is gonna have to come afterwards. The story's not really focused on Solo right now. Uh, but he ends up getting his ass beat in the name of Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso seemingly has his sights on the unified. Is it the unified WWE Championship?
Yeah,
Undisputed.
undisputed, unified. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. Raw. We should go to Raw.
Yeah, Raw was it's a building episode. I think after last week's really good episode, you can't expect it 2 weeks in a row. More about the furthering of the storyline between Damian and Finn, the distrust between them and Seth in the middle, kind of playing the Oscar role, but on the babyface side here. His rematch with Dom, I knew they weren't gonna fucking run it back. I was like, there's no way this match happens.
I would hope so. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad at it, but I'm like, it's very in this Triple H era. I don't think they've run back matches multiple weeks in a row outside
I
of
was
the.
like, it was
Go ahead.
feeling 2019.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we getting back to 2019 days rematch.
Rematch after rematch, but no, it ends up it kicks off the show, right? Or does it kick off the show?
It did.
I was uncharacteristically watching the home run derby at this point. Don't ask why, but yeah, it kicks off the show. Schmaz, Sami Zayn and KO run out. We got a 6-man tag for the main event of the show. Very easy wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Simple. And then that ends up being an argument.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But are they so? With this show, I think there is a ton of. I mean, again, we're advancing towards SummerSlam, and I think a lot of programs are advancing towards that. We got the Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark match, which was in jeopardy before the show. People saying that Becky Lynch was not cleared. Apparently, she got cleared a couple hours before the show to actually have this match. Still remains to be seen what was actually stopping her from having this match. But she has a great match with Zoe Stark and a great moment for Zoe Stark, who gets the win over Becky Lynch in a it is the opposite of what Grayson Waller did. She actually beat the actual star. The Zoe Stark, Trish Stratus.
How are you comparing those two?
Right. That was
like, what?
Because I can.
That makes no sense. No, I'm not rocking with
that. Who cares? It's a moot point. It was just a jab for a jab. I don't really care. But Zoe Stark wins the match. She beats Becky Lynch. Big moment. We still heading towards this. I mean, it's heading Trish Becky SummerSlam. That's what it feels like. Maybe sponsored by Barbie.
She's gonna get her win back. I think there's also like a dual program going with Raquel and Liv and Rhea. There's a lot of really kind of interesting stuff going on there with those 5 women there. I like the interplay. I'm telling you right now, uncharacteristic of me, I skipped that tag match. I was like, I can't do it again with these 4. I can't.
Oh, Katana and Kaden versus Chelsea.
Quick, so you ain't missed much.
Yeah, it was super quick. It was like 2 minutes long, I know, but like I would love to not see Chelsea and Sonya be the Road Warriors on the women's tag division. I just can't.
Hey man, it's just Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Like, come on, guys.
Oh man.
It's just them.
I feel justified in no one agreeing in your opinions on those two. So I don't have to say.
That's fine. That's fine. I stand in my opinions. You know what? I'm a trailblazer in my own right. You know what I'm saying? I does this. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler getting a little brawl. They got a little brawl out. You know what I'm saying? And that's just kind of how that's how Ronda Rousey feuds kind of are. You show up, you fight, you live to fight another day, and you do it again next week. Logan Paul and Ricochet.
Hey.
Yeah.
They are. This is sink or swim for Ricochet. In terms of like the promo aspect of it. And I think in week 1, Logan definitely came off as more comfortable on the mic. I would think. Or I think.
Okay. I think it's I'll say this. Logan was definitely more comfortable on the mic. I'll say that. He's definitely more comfortable on the mic. But I also think it's easier to be hated when people hate you. I don't know what to say. Like,
But
it's
it's also
easier.
He's a
you're
real life heel.
you're a flippy guy. You're a flippy guy. It's way easy to get fucking people behind you. And I thought
But
that
that's it. But you do that when you flip, right?
all
I
he's got
thought
to
the
do
crowd
is
was
say it.
behind Ricochet though.
The
They were
crowd was
behind.
behind Ricochet.
They were very much behind. I thought like him not getting certain chants or anything. I mean that Logan Paul chant at the end was a little, but like I thought they were fully invested in him. You could tell he's kind of getting more comfortable. He still has to fix his like voice where he kind of feels like he's almost crying, but I think that's probably a nerves thing because I've been like that before. But like I thought the promo was solid. To be
He
I
honest,
said that nigga was 90% forehead and he lost.
Yeah, but it's here's the thing. Here's the thing. He bald. Yes, he's bald.
he's bald.
Fuck. What do you want from him? But I also feel like there's a sense of like you got to really believe what you're actually saying, and I don't think it's not that I don't think Ricochet believes all of that, but he's still very much playing the part of like what he's supposed to be on this show. He calls himself Ricochet. He does this all the part. I think he's legitimately playing a part, but I don't think we've got to the. I don't think we've gotten his career arc and his development where he gets to a character he actually feels and believes, or enough momentum to actually get to that point. He kind of has to like cut a promo every week to kind of figure it out. But realistically, War of Words, this was a sink or swim moment. I think ultimately the entire segment was hinged on the flip outside of the ring more than anything.
They
And he
fucked that up.
landed. Yeah, I don't think they built up to it as they probably should.
Not as
They,
much as they did like when he did it with it against Redacted. But
well, the camera angle I think was
yeah,
key.
that too.
The camera angle is key, and I think that whoever chose, we're gonna get him soaring above it and setting it instead of having it behind Logan, and you see him do that. It was more predicated on I think they wanted to have the angle going above the ropes and then zooming into Logan's reaction. And I thought Logan had a great reaction, but I thought Ricochet like no one really reacted to that flip. Like a
But
couple of
I think
Yeah,
it's a
whoa.
Logan
lot.
kind of no sold it. He was like, "You gotta do that to be look cool," and I was like, "Damn."
I thought the context of it worked better in the Velveteen feud than this feud.
Yeah, because it's a tiny ass arena. Like it's a
No, no,
tiny.
no, 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 no.
But it
Not
was
even just because of that. The feud was
anything
anything
you
you
can
can
do.
do, I can do
Yeah,
better. And Ricochet was like, then do this, motherfucker. And I think that should honestly be the basis of this Logan Paul and Ricochet feud because they have a similar I don't think everyone's calling Logan Paul a flippy guy. He's not a flippy guy. It's just he's a guy who can do all this amazing shit. Like
fucking randomly athletic for no
he's
reason.
super athletic. Like he can brawl. He can do anything. Like he's really sound athletically. He's a very athletic guy. Um, but I think there should be a point where like anything you can do, I can do better. Maybe there's a competition that they have. Maybe there's some sort of thing like build it up that way. So you highlight the strengths of Ricochet, but you also highlight that Logan Paul's kind of a freak fucking athlete, and maybe you get it that way. But this whole thing, like I hate this nigga. He can only get viral off of he trying to live off my clout. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it works exactly the same, and I think it
Yeah,
puts Ricochet in a weird spot of like maybe he is wanting the clout that Logan Paul has. You know?
It
because
definitely looks
it
like.
plays into two different kind of because Logan Paul's thing is the cloud thing, but Ricochet's thing is about him calling him unprofessional, and it's like they're on two different kind of
And I was like,
arguments.
word. I was like, you couldn't talk about his shitty drink. You know what I'm saying? That would have been the first thing. That would have been the first thing I brought up. I was like, nigga, the drink was right there.
They have time. They have 4 weeks to reconfigure this. I think they'll figure it out. But I think in terms of a marquee match, it's sink or swim for Ricochet, and I'll be watching. But I'm gonna lipo until after SummerSlam.
I don't think the in ring stuff you got to worry about.
It's before, yeah, it's the 4
Yeah,
weeks.
That's
it's
why I said that I'm paying attention to the next 4 weeks.
yeah, for sure. Do we want to American Alpha? Val-
Good segment. Good segment.
It's
Listen,
and
very good.
take that cap off. Nigga said, wait, what?
It got real.
Wait a
It got
minute.
real. 1999 SmackDown on there first. I said, whoa, 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 whoa.
And he was like, take that gown off. And I was like, it's getting what?
And she did it
Too hot.
slow too. I said, ain't no way.
You gotta
And then she was,
love. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I was saying she was wearing that same outfit that thick girl from TikTok wore, but she's got like way more body than her. I was like, oh wow, this is an interesting thing. But go ahead.
You gotta love when she's cutting the promo over the chants, and Gable says, "Hold on, hold on, hold on." Like he says it really low, but he says, "Hold on, hold on, hold on," like so that she can. She's supposed to.
Pause for the reaction.
Yeah, she's supposed to pause, but it's like you see that moment, and Gable to me is probably the best teacher for her, in order to get to where she needs to be. I really can see Maxine like being something in that division, in the next couple months. I mean, I think that like unlike like a Lana, I think there's like a natural predilection for people to like her, and I think
Right.
it's very different from anybody else on that show where it's just like her being with those two lovable goofs is actually getting her over and getting them over too, and I think it's working out for everybody. Even when the Vikings came out and took the jacket, I was like, this is working.
And no offense to Lana, but I feel like Maxine is just like, I don't know. I don't want to say like, I think Lana is a great person, but I feel like Maxine's a more likable person just in general. She seems like someone who doesn't really need wrestling and is just kind of doing it. You know what I'm saying?
For the love of the game, man. For the love of the
Yeah.
game.
She don't need wrestling. She's hot. Like, what
Bro,
does she need to do this for?
her, thank you. It's gonna get over.
I agree.
This is Chase U. This is Chase U main roster right here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is
Hey,
literally-
I'm wondering
I'm
when it's
waiting
gonna
for
come
the
into play.
collab.
Listen, rival
uh,
schools.
the Drew McIntyre thing, I want to touch on that really quick. I mean, obviously they had like a kind of a quick tag match with Imperium. It's looking like Giovanni's looking kind of like the weak link. What are we thinking here?
I'm
I don't know why they
thinking.
did that to that man.
I'm thinking Ilya. I'm thinking Gunther finds a new member.
I feel like they shouldn't replace him. Like, how come he doesn't get the he's bald hate neither? What about that? You know what I'm saying? But
Man, politicking.
I feel like, I like Giovanni Vinci. I don't know why they would like do
They
this
like
to this man.
they like him too. I think we got to lipo it. I think he's gonna. I think he's going to prove himself very soon.
I would hope so. I feel like that would add a little bit more to his character. Just like, okay, he might have to wall out. You know what I'm saying?
Um,
Drew's hanging out with Riddle and shit like that. I
he
don't know
didn't.
what
But
the
I want to point out that he didn't like that Riddle has a match against Gunther next week. He explicitly said maybe you should wait. And I think that there's seeds being planted here for where
Well, he
Drew
also said he was gonna be out next week. I'm like, you got PTO like that, nigga?
Nah, he
Like,
said he's on company business. He gotta
company
go
business.
shake
Yeah.
hands and kiss babies. You know.
AKA
alright.
I'm filming a movie with Batista next week. So that's really what
Fire.
he said. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's fine. Okay, good for him.
what else happened?
I want to ask you this guy's question as we lead into this next segment.
Okay.
What is your Brock Lesnar?
Milk dairy products. Are my Brock
Mine might be running, even though I enjoy it.
Lesnar.
Yeah, I might be with you with that, Meelz. I'm about to do this as soon as we're done with this podcast. I'm already in my head like what I'm about to do for running, and I'm trying to get already.
Listen, I don't like running unless I'm Chase. That is indeed my Brock Lesnar. I don't know what Cody was on some other shit.
Cody's getting real political, like from the
Political.
waves and everything. Like he's really getting to the president.
Cody campaign, Buffalo, New York. I would say stamp it.
Stamp it.
They
We need
believe
the bus. The Lex Luger, bro. The Lex Express. We need the Cody
Yeah.
bus.
The polls went up in the student loan demographic. He
This
mentioned
nigga.
student
You
loan.
mentioned student loans, man.
You haven't had to pay a student loan ever, but you know what? Stamp it, Cody.
Stamp it. That's your
Cody.
Brock Lesnar, baby. Sometimes we got Brock Lesnar's in our lives and stuff like that.
So I mean, again, another situation where they're hinting towards SummerSlam matches, but not actually announcing any. I would imagine we're going to get a deluge of SummerSlam matches that are going to be announced next week on both shows.
Got to.
Yeah, yeah.
I do have
At
a
this
question.
point,
I do have a question, right?
sure.
Judgment Day will be on NXT this week.
Yes.
Carmelo Hayes will be involved. I have a very, very kind of like big feeling that someone from NXT might be involved, maybe in SummerSlam, or am I wilding?
I could see it.
I think it's a ratings boost again, honestly.
I could see it. I mean,
Damien has
Summer.
nothing. Damien has nothing going on right now. So like
Yeah,
if they wanted to get him a win right now, it would be cool to do a tag match with him and Dom versus Carmelo and Trick or something like that. I'm just thinking outside the box.
Great American Bash is the week before SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I
But
could
Melo
see.
will be in a title match though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but it's a week before. Like, it doesn't matter.
Nah, the title, I think it's. They said Ilya Braun is the number one contender for that match, right? For
Really,
the Bash.
yeah. It's a Carmelo Hayes versus either Ilya or Braun. So, I mean, I could see him after he wins and or loses the match. Um, deciding to come up to the main roster and make it official. Maybe that's how his call up happens. I
I
don't
hope
know.
so, even though I still don't think he's ready. But lastly, on the SmackDown side or the Raw side here, Miz versus Tommaso Ciampa.
Come on now.
They went 11 minutes.
Come on now. Hardcore
Reed,
He can
Miz.
do it on his own. It's classic Miz.
Amen.
continuity editor was working on this
Kevin Owens.
Amen.
because he said, make sure you mention that we've seen Bronson work with Miz before. And then I said, wow.
Right.
That hasn't happened since like literally like 2021, 2022.
But they still brought it up. It's
No, they
looking
brought it up.
it's a good look for Miz, who seems to be getting back on track. I think it's a great first program for Ciampa. I think that I could definitely see Gargano coming back. But the thing about it is, I think I said earlier, I can't see that match being a SummerSlam match. Triple H loves these two. And
He does.
if it's any chance for them to beat Miz's ass, he would want to do it on the biggest stage possible. I could definitely see it.
I'm interested to see how Gargano gonna be flipping and flopping this guy Bronson Reed all over the goddamn ring. You know what I'm saying? Because he gonna get his shit in. But you know what? A good moment. Miz gets his first win in 2023.
Wow.
Listen,
Snoop Dogg beat him, yo.
it shows you. Shane McMahon ain't beat him. I'll tell you that.
He's the first one to lose in back-to-back nights on WrestleMania, making history though.
Hey man, listen. Sometimes it's about the moments, mystery. You know what I'm saying? Like the Hall of Fame video package is gonna be mighty long. Is all I'm saying.
Oh god.
That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
You missed the moment of 3 strikes you're out basketball. That was my favorite moment of the night.
I popped. Well, I mean, because I skipped the tag match, but I forgot to bring up the segment right before it. But 3 strikes you're out basketball. I said, or I was like, yeah.
Who said we? Rhea's made that movie.
that was an amazing segment. I listen. I'm fine with Chelsea and Sonya. I'm just not fine with it being all the teams on the roster. That's not okay to me. Like I feel like that's shitty booking that Vince would have did. Like I feel like you need to give them a bigger reason why Raquel and Liv would want to face them again, because that was the program that they were already doing before Liv got injured. So
they don't book the women's tag team division with any actual stories though. So I expect literally nothing, because literally this is how it's been booked since day one. There hasn't been a notable, outside of Bailey and Sasha, there hasn't been a notable story surrounding these women tag team championships.
And you know what they should do? They should all walk out.
Hours before the show.
Yeah.
Amen.
Walk
Amen.
out.
Throw the titles right at Michael P.S. Hayes.
Amen.
Say,
Shout
I'm
out to
out.
Naomi. Naomi got a championship match coming up this week. So
Slammiversary card does look good. I will say that for Impact.
Which Dave and Buster's is that at?
All right, come on now.
It's
at St. Clair's College in Windsor, Ontario.
Is that a community college or what is that?
It just says a college, it says a
What
college.
do they teach? Culinary arts? What?
Oh,
Come
come
on now.
on.
Come on now.
I
I'm sure
just ask questions. I'm just
it's
asking
a
questions.
I'm sure I'm sure it's a great college. She's facing Deanna Purrazzo. You're right, this card isn't that bad. Look at
It
this.
should be a good card. It's a very good card.
I'll let
I'm not
y'all
gonna
tell.
watch it, but
I'll,
no, I'm not gonna watch it.
I'll let you and Chris Mack tell me it's good, and then I'll say, "Oh, noted." I'll put a thumbs up. Noted. Gotcha. But
Yeah.
Sid, I want to thank you for being on the show this week. Thank you so much, brother, and congratulations for you winning the Royal Rumble pool 7 months ago and finally being able to.
I appreciate it. I didn't want to do it in Kansas, and where my Wi-Fi would have been god awful, and so I had to wait for the right moment. But
Shout out to Kansas, but not really.
now I
Wow.
know.
But make sure you guys tap in to a new episode of Spot Callers where me and Cyrus review Wrestling with Shadows, the Bret Hart documentary. Really, really good stuff. We went over an hour on that documentary, and we try and put a rest to it, but also kind of educate Cyrus on the screw job and just the way things were going on at that point, and really get his thoughts about it. It's a really interesting show. If you haven't heard it, check it out on our Patreon. Of course, $5 down and let you get all of our exclusive shows. You'll also be able to listen to a new episode of the War Report this week as well, with Cyrus and Quan reviewing AEW Dynamite, Summer Collision, Summer Rampage, and NXT. Pray for them. Please pray for them. But yeah, anything else, Meelz?
Nah, 300 next week. We got 300 of them damn things. So you know what? Keep supporting the show. Keep sharing the show. And want to give a shout out to not necessarily a shout out, but a get well soon to Logan.
Yes.
Get well soon. Fan of the show, always weekly. So get well soon, Logan. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Logan, we love you, bro. We love you, Logan. Yeah.
300 episodes next week. Stay tuned. Stay ready.
All right. So we'll see you guys next week for the next chapter of the Bloodline saga and also anything else going on in the LA Knight saga and everything going on in wrestling. For Meelz and Sid, I'm Justin. Love you guys. Peace out.